Hello, this is Julian with Coffee Reviews, and today we'll be reviewing the La Montañita Wash Process Colombia from Blossom Coffee Roasters. And there's the bag right there. And Blossom, based out of Manchester, England. And they were originally a suggestion to us by Circle Pour, aka Niall. So once again, shout out to and thank you to Niall for the suggestion. This is Blossom's second ever appearance on this channel, having recently reviewed the El Delfin, a yellow honey processed Costa Rican coffee. And if you watched that video, then we mentioned that our buddy Zach sent us both of these coffees, as they were the only two Blossom coffees that the coffee shop he purchased them from was carrying. So first we discussed the Costa Rican coffee, and today we will be discussing the Colombian coffee, as this right here is day 39. And recipe we went with for this coffee was the same as the previous Blossom coffee, which was a 16:1 water to coffee ratio, brewed at 95 degrees Celsius, about 203 degrees Fahrenheit. And I like this one better through the V60, which indicates a more medium fine grind. Roast profile for this coffee, this one was a little bit lighter than the previous Blossom coffee we had reviewed, and we aligned that one with maybe the slightly lighter side of a medium, if not the more developed side of a light medium. I would say that maybe this one still falls in line with the more developed side of a light medium, but if not to the same extent as that previous Blossom coffee. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and start discussing this coffee. Day 18, first impression, and that was my first takeaway from this coffee, was that it was a little bit lighter and brighter than initially expected, as it offered a tropical brightness right from the start, with a focus on some really bright stone fruits and a lively and vibrant sense near equal to the complementary citric aspect to the cup. Very fruit forward, very nice start. I was actually quite impressed with this first try. Day 20, ran it through the Chemex, and it was bright yet again, this time in a much more citric sense, as there was plenty of the tropical fruit aspects, and what I would describe as a well-defined kiwi-like sense, leading to a bit more of a berry component to this one. Pretty lingering in terms of the brightness within the finish. Another decent day to this cup. Day 22, ran it through the April dripper, and the cup was a slight bit more smoky, which does kind of lead to the roast profile of this one yet again. A little less defined than the tropical citrus, as there was not quite as clean of a cup on this day. It felt like it was a little bit marred by that smoky quality to it, so it wasn't necessarily the best day. The April dripper sometimes yields wonderful coffees, and sometimes it's not necessarily the best. Didn't really enjoy it on this day. But we continue on to day 25 as we ran it back through the V60 at slightly lower temperatures. And it was quite reminiscent of the Faberninco, which was the coffee we had reviewed from Flower Child earlier this year, with a tropical nectar-like vibrancy. So I saw immediate improvement with the very slight adjustment I'd made on this cup as well. Skewed slightly more in the citric direction, but once again, a fair bit more of that well-defined kiwi aspect. So another really nice day of this coffee. I was actually quite impressed with the way this coffee had been turning out with the minor adjustment. Day 27, same adjustments to the Chemex, and it was kind of difficult to pick a preference for which brew method I preferred for this one, as it continued to remain pretty vibrant and tropical fruit forward. Perhaps a slight bit less definition through this brew method, as there was yet again a little bit more citrus, and in the other brew method, the V60, I did get just a little bit more kind of a rounded tropicality, a little bit more vibrancy in that sense too. So that's part of the reason on day 30 went back to the V60. And while the cup has seemed to have lost a slight bit of a vibrancy, it's still offering plenty of the fruit forward aspects in the tropical sense, a little bit more of that citric component yet again. Still positive all around, and I think I just kind of decided that I was enjoying this cup a little bit more than the Chemex. So day 32, same thing. Cup has reached a level of consistency, and you're kind of seeing both these coffees kind of mirror each other in that sense. I decided on a brew method, was getting a little bit better results with a very minor adjustment, and once again, it was really nice. Continues to focus on the citric aspect. Pineapple is in prominence, and that's not something I'd previously mentioned, but it was one of the more defining citric characteristics. It was pretty sweet, so that's why I aligned it a little bit more with that. There was also this candied lemon aspect and the kiwi aspect yet again, so a lot of these different citric components as well as the tropical components to it. So really nice, really enjoyed that. Day 35, final notes I have, cup continues to skew in the citric direction, although it's been mostly consistent with a lot of lively tropical fruit forward aspects to it. Consistency throughout the entirety, especially at the end, so really kind of enjoyed the way that this cup turned out by the end. All right, let's go ahead and put up the tasting wheel so you can see what we're getting. All right, and we have quite a few level 4s. So we'll start with the cleanliness level 4. Yes, this one, as opposed to the Costa Rican coffee, had a little bit more definition and a little bit more clarity overall. So I am much more happy with this one being at the level 4 mark. This one is much more of a true level 4. Finish, level 4. Yes, without question, there was very much that kind of citric brightness to the cup that justified that level 4 mark. I have no qualms about putting that at the level 4. That one is also a true level 4. Sweetness, level 4. Yes, this one was also a little bit more sweet than the El Delfin, that Costa Rican coffee. So this one also reaches that true level 4 mark, and this one could be in a number of factors. It could be the slight kind of berry quality to it, or it could be the citric quality to it, as well as that was a little bit more on the sweeter end of things. So definitely feel that that's justified at that level 4. Acidity, level 4. That's one of the first notes I took away, is that this coffee was a little bit more bright than initially expected. So I think that plays a role in terms of the overall roast profile of this one. It is also a pink Bourbon coffee, which is why I think it gave me a lot of memories of the Faverninco. It shared a lot of those same characteristics to it, especially early on, especially in terms of that brightness. So I could see some of the similarities. It's both a Bourbon and I want to say a Tabby. Yeah, so it's mixed in that sense, but even then I feel like a lot of the pink Bourbon characteristics were really kind of shining through in this one. Grapefruit, level 4. Yes, and that's not a specific sort of berry. It's a little bit more of that kind of tropical berry, and the kiwi would fall in line with that berry component. So that's why I liked it right there. Citrus fruit, level 4. I mentioned specifically what those were. I felt like it was a slightly sweeter pineapple, a little bit more of this candied lemon component to it. So I feel like those are justified there. Stone fruit, level 4. Yes, there was even a little bit of this tropical stone fruit aspect to the cup, reminiscent for me of mango. I'm surprised I didn't put it in any of the notes, as it was something that I felt like at times could be picked out pretty even easily in this cup. And then let's see here, a couple of level 3s. We will start with the body level 3. I think that can be attributed to the brew method as well as what this coffee is. We have a V60 and we have a washed Colombian coffee, so that's not surprising in that sense. Bitter, level 3. Yes, that's in terms of the citric direction. That's specifically the lemon. There was a kind of citric bitterness to this cup, so I feel like that right there deserves that level 3. And pretty much everything else is either, the saltiness I guess is at a level 3. Yeah, I can see that. As I'm drinking this coffee today, it still has a slight bit of that salty aspect to it as well. And then a bunch of level 2s. I don't think any of those are worth discussing. I think that this is a pretty good representation of what I was getting from this coffee. All right, so my overall thoughts and impressions of this coffee. This one of the two was definitely my favorite. I mentioned that in the previous Blossom review, and I'm not entirely sure where I want to go with this one, because I kind of went in with the expectations that, they are English coffees, don't necessarily have the best results with English coffees, so this one sounded really promising for a number of reasons, and it turned out to be quite promising. It wasn't anywhere near as good as the Faverninco. That is one of my favorite pink Bourbon coffees that I think I've ever reviewed on this channel, and while this one was really nice, I think it kind of had that wow factor that it took me by surprise for how much I enjoyed this coffee. So the first thing I want to do is give massive credit to Blossom for this one, both picking it out and roasting it, because it does show that there's something great about this coffee roaster, and I can see that from this coffee right here. Even if it may not necessarily be one of my favorite coffees that we're going to review this year, it was a nice, pleasant surprise, and I actually really enjoyed going through and reviewing this coffee. Type of person I would suggest this coffee to. I feel like if you really like your pink Bourbon coffees, this is a good fit for you, because it shares so many of those characteristics, that fun tropicality, that fun brightness, some great sweetness, some great clarity. It offered all of those things in pretty significant abundance. As mentioned, it's not necessarily the lightest coffee, but even then it still offered a fair bit of some lighter qualities to it. Of course, that being a well-defined brightness to the cup, as well as some of those fruit components to it as well. So there are some really nice positives to be taken away from this one, and I think that's just kind of the best way I can leave this review. If you've by chance had an opportunity to try this coffee, I'd love to know your thoughts and impressions of it as well. If you're enjoying the content, give this video a like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. This right here has been a review of the La Montañita Wash Process Colombia from Blossom Coffee Roasters. Thank you for watching.